the whole world has been making efforts to use the resources available in the best possible efficiency. And it is in that they felt that if we move from analog to digital, we are going to have greater participation of people, leading to great employment of many people. And so digital idea is a very positive and powerful idea. And now I read. The digital migration in Kenya has faced many challenges and mispresentations in the past 2 years. And so, as interested party, the Digital Broadcasters Association of Kenya feels that we must come out to correct certain mispresentations in the mainstream media. DBA is composed of over 30 media owners who have invested in the digital platform and are already on air. Over 98% of these are indigenous Kenyans. Our attention has been drawn to the reaction by the mainstream media over yesterday's move by the Communication Authority of Kenya, CAK, to withdraw the temporary authorization granted to Nation Group, the Standard Group, and Royal Media Services under the consortium identified as African Digital Network, which was to facilitate the rollout of their digital signal distribution platform. CAK also announced that it shall also repossess the frequency spectrum resources allocated for the said digital platform with immediate effect. Citizen TV, KTN, and NTV claim that move will negatively affect them and hands a big win to foreign rivals. This is misleading the nation. As you recall, press, it started by the three feeling that there was something unjust. It was not fair for a foreign company to have advantage over them. But what we are saying now is that we would not like to support any unfairness. But the big three, or the three of them, they are also being unfair to more than 30 other media houses, like us and many others. We wish to bring to the attention of Kenyans that the fact that the implementation of the digital migration in Kenya has been delayed by certain disruptive forces in the past 2 years through numerous court cases. They have totally ignored the fact that many Kenyans have invested millions of shillings in the setting up of digital stations by buying expensive equipment and the recruitment of staff, only for the process to be delayed. We have discovered some of these companies have even taken loans from the banks so that they can set up digital platforms. But after they have done that, they are being delayed and delayed and delayed. So delaying process has led to massive loss in advertising revenue, and also they are paying salaries to employees, and this is impacting on the investment. We also note with concern that three stations want to create a monopoly of the digital platform by supplying their own set of boxes. We want to point out that all players in the market are currently using CAK approved set of boxes, and the 3 should not expect preferential treatment. DBA supports calls by CAK Director General Francis Wanguzi to the Competition Authority of Kenya to probe the cartel-like anti-competitive competitive conduct of 3 media houses and take appropriate remedies. The 3 stations have been vocal that the Chinese have been afforded unfair advantage over them, and they claim they are fighting for a level playing field, giving the example the allocation of more frequencies to a Chinese company. What is perplexing is the fact that the manner in which KTN, Citizen, and NTV are going about this issue will end up resulting in creating monopoly in the digital platform, unfairly locking out the more than 30 local players in the sector. Our interpretation of a free-to-air license means that your signal is available freely to anyone, including pay TV channels. If any investor feels that their signal should be encrypted, then they should apply to change their license from free to air to pay TV. The analog signals of K24 and KBC have been switched off. Why are the 3 so adamant? And if you find that you are not fair to one of other stations, why do you feel happy that you have an advantage over, say, K24 or KBC? Because they are switched off. We appeal to CAK to stand firm, not to be intimidated by the 3, and call upon Kenyans not to be misled, as this saga does not in any way affect public interest, but is all about commercial interest. I think we need to mention that it's not that we are supporting blindly CAK, but we are looking at a situation in Kenya where you have frequencies not only for television, radio, but also they are used for aviation, for the police and other defense arms, and the meteorology. We are using all these frequencies. So if the CAK role is undermined, you find some of the frequencies affecting aviation, which could lead to a disaster. You could see the planes crashing. And so we must uphold that role of regulatory nature very firmly.
We'd like to point out that the transition to digital, in addition to using the spectrum more effectively and more efficiently, will act as a catalyst to creating jobs for the youth in this country. After all, 100 TV stations will employ more people than 5 TV stations. Currently, all of you and all the people already employed in the 30 digital stations that are here did not have jobs before. And these are job opportunities for our youth. We have countries like Nigeria, where that sector, where they produce content that is enjoyed by Kenyans, employs hundreds and thousands of young people who leave school. India has a big sector in Bollywood, as we know, Hollywood. And so this is a catalyst where young people produce content and will get employed in these stations. And we wonder, why would anybody want to delay this or stop it? The other misconception that has gone around is that this is being done in a hurry. I was at the launch of the digital switch, the path to switching onto the digital platform way back in 2007. And over the last 8 years, the media owners have been party to this process, they joined a digital transition committee which sat, and we learned through the court hearings that they were part and parcel of that process. They agreed on dates. So the very first dates that were announced, they were party to it. The date of 13th December 2013, they agreed to it. So the misconception that this is being done in a hurry and they haven't had time is not correct. They have had 8 years. Now, during that 8 years, 30 ordinary Kenyans as ourselves took advantage of the time and invested in this sector. We suggest that is what anybody else in that sector should have done, even as they were pursuing other avenues. The other point we'd like to point out is that there's been a lot of talk about foreign investors. We know in this country that foreign investment is part of the economy, of building the economy. But what is interesting is that the largest of these media houses is actually owned by a foreigner. The biggest single shareholder is a foreigner. And you cannot have two classes of foreigners. So I don't think that is an issue. I think we benefit as a country, as companies, with foreign investment, and we encourage that. But the key thing we're asking for is a fair playing ground, not just for those people who have the means or feel or think they're entitled to a spectrum, because after all, frequencies are a national resource. They belong to all Kenyans. They don't belong to a few. And this opportunity gives all Kenyans the opportunity to participate in a sector, to grow it, to offer jobs, and not just to content providers, but also to people who will bring in set-top boxes. There are businesses that will be created, and there are lots of young people who will get jobs. It is a good thing. We remember 20 years ago, there was a lot of resistance when we used to use hand phones, hand telephone phones. You remember, with telecoms. And many people 20 years ago could not envisage that in just 20 years, people will not use hand phones anymore because you had these giant corporations. And they said people cannot afford mobile phones, they're too expensive, they cannot be distributed. Today, even the mama mboga on the street has a mobile phone. And that is what we are going to see in the next 20 years. The very person in the village will have a digital set-top box and will have access to over 200 channels. What we are doing is giving consumers the opportunity to have diversity of content, the choice of content, and even the person who wants the least amount of money, just as they carry a mobile phone today, they'll be able to access content and to have choice. Choice must be a good thing. It cannot be a bad thing. Thank you very much.